Good evening, people. How are you all? So, after a long break and after the Dashera and Navratris, we are back again with another live poetry reading session. And we have been doing some of these live poetry readings through our YouTube channel, and we have received a lot of love and also a good traffic through our channel. So, we are really thankful to that. And I am Mona Lisa Joshi. I'm the founder and director of a contemporary publishing house that's called Prasantham Chronicles. And through this official channel of ours, we are doing these live reading sessions. Although we have been doing some of the theme based poetry reading, but because of many of the writers and poets who have connected with me time and again, and they have asked and requested that they would like to also, do their readings. So we might also in the future give scope to original poets come with their poetry and do a reading, and we can also do some contests. So today we are again gathered here, Dipti Manan ma'am, Jyoti Pratik, Lolita Bhattacharya, and Vesha Bhattacharya. We are all gathered here with some amazing, brilliant women poets of our time to recite. They are going to recite their poem on the theme fairy tales with a new twist. Now, this is an interesting take. I will have to tell you that everybody has taken, and this was a prompt that I gave in the group. That's a Facebook group called Santham Chronicles again. And some months back, people started writing for it, and then our judge, Honorable Shakuntala Kanakagiri ma'am, she was our judge. She selected some of the writers, and then we have decided to go and come here live. So, welcome Dipti ma'am, welcome Jyoti, welcome Lolita and Visha to this live poetry reading session, and I'm really looking forward to listen to some of your takes on the famous fairy tales. And let's begin with Dipti Manan ma'am. Why did you choose the poem you have written, and what is the inspiration behind? I would like to know.
Thank you so much, Mona Lisa. It's wonderful to be here on Chrysanthemum Chronicles and with all four of you. And reading, of course, I think makes us all very, very happy. Now, I chose the poem, the story called "The Red Shoes." This is by Hans Christian Andersen, one of the most famous children's short story writers of all times. He was Danish, and the reason why I chose this is I thought this story had so many nuances to it. Basically, I am a thriller writer, and I always like a little bit of the thrill, horror, something that makes people kind of makes people sit up and say, "Oh my God, did she really say that?" So the
Okay.
reason I chose the Red Shoes, it first of all, it's a very unusual story. It deals with sin, the sin of vanity. It talks about how people sin and then how they gain redemption as well. So there is always hope for everyone. Maybe it is a very moral story as well. But then I think most short stories are moral stories. Finally, children learn a lot from these short stories. And so this is why I chose the Red Shoes, because I thought that this was a story which I could work on and I could make interesting. And besides, it has this little bit of horror and thrill that I always love to experiment with. So that is why I chose this, the Red Shoes.
That's wonderful. Now let's listen to your poem, ma'am. I'm really looking forward to.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So this is called The Red Shoes, rewritten. And it is about this girl called Karen. She gets a pair of red shoes, and let us see what she does with them. The red shoes. Karen, a poor orphaned girl, hated her ugly wooden shoes, so Dame Shoemaker made her red ones with strips of cloth. Karen strove for a life of comfort that she could choose. One day, a rich old lady adopted her, a kindly, true thought. In a few days, Karen realized it was time to make hay. She could have everything. She turned vain and proud. Her new clothes were beautiful. Shiny new shoes came her way. She grabbed it all and more, her head held high, unbowed. On Sunday, against rules, she wore the red shoes to church. Unthinking of consequences, she prayed not, but preened instead. The churchgoers whispered. She tossed her head, reached the carriage perch. An old soldier said, "Look, what beautiful dancing shoes! They are red." Her vanity continued. Even when her old benefactor lay ill, she needed tending. But Karen's mind was set on a grand ball. The old lady pleaded, but nothing could shake her will. Clad in a lacy ball gown and red shoes, she strode out of the hall. As the music swelled, she danced. Back home, the old lady passed away. Suddenly, Karen's red shoes began dancing in a frenzy of their own. She tried to stop them, but they carried her out of the crowded hallway, moving her through the city gates where she found herself all alone. To the dark woods she danced on, struggling to unclasp the shoes that clung. The old soldier sat in a clearing. Look, what beautiful dancing shoes, he said. Terrified, she pled them to stop. As round and round she was flung, the red shoes took her to a church graveyard. By now she was half dead. An angel, stern faced, in white robes, stood, broadsword grasped well. He said, dance on in thy shiny red shoes till thou art pale and cold. Dance from door to door, where vain and proud children dwell. That is your punishment. Mercy, she cried, trembling, no longer bold. The red shoes made her twirl as perspiration down her back poured. Through the gloomy night till her head spun, her poor tired feet bled. She whirled in torment till she reached the executioner's abode. Come out, I can't stop dancing, she called out to him in dread. I cut the heads of bad people, he said, his sharp axe held at bay. I must repent. Cut off my feet instead, she said, trembling in fear. As she confessed, he cut off her feet. The red shoes danced away. The executioner made her wooden shoes, which she donned with a tear. Her prayers mounted to heaven, for she said them loud and clear. Lord, give me power to change the world. Help those with disabilities. I've lost my red shoes, but my heart is now gold. I have no more doubt or fear. The Lord heard her and responded to her newly attained sensibilities. The streets vanished, high walls appeared, an arched ceiling high a mansion rose, with large rooms, winding staircase, and wide open doors. Go forth, child, step in with a brave heart. This now is your land and sky. You shall own this hospital, tend to sufferers who have lost their course. Eyes overflowing, she hobbled in, hope suffusing her heart, passing by a huge board that read, Rehabilitation and Hope for All. Shiny instruments, medicine chests, a team of specialists who would play their part in amputations and broken limbs to help patients who would otherwise fall. Karen looked long at her wooden shoes that could no longer dance. She sent up a prayer from deep within that shot up straight like a flame. Thank you, O God, for having given me this wonderful chance. This hospital will remind me of my vanity. The red shoes shall be its name. Thank you.
That was really, really wonderful. I was
Thank,
totally mesmerized.
thank you so much.
Let's listen to what other poets have to say.
Really nice. I liked your eloquence and the flow with which you recited the poem, and also the intention behind it. Very nice.
Thank you so much,
That
Jyoti.
was a
Thank
very noble kind of ending to the poetry.
that's why when you gave us this chance to a tales with twist, I
Hmm.
think all of us have made that effort and got that twist going. I think
Huh.
it was a wonderful kind of choice as well, in the sense all the poems.
exactly. That was the fun part also, and also the twists that were made by the poets. That was also wonderful.
This is actually a very good opportunity to rewrite our childhood, what we read as fairy tales, and now we have a
Yes,
chance
yes.
to rewrite the stories from our perspectives, improving upon them if we want to. Like,
Absolutely,
yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Well said. So that was really lovely listening to you, Dipti ma'am. As I always say, just do the thing, start your YouTube channel, start, reciting, because you
So,
really need to reach out. I think you have the best modulation of, voice, during the, every part that you read.
thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am. So let's come to Jyoti. Jyoti, give me the context why you have chosen Red Riding Hood and what was your
I would like to
inspiration.
say, Deepti ma'am, you brought the poem alive through your rendition.
Thank you,
Which,
Lolita.
though,
That means a lot.
there was a bit of disturbance around, but but you brought the poem alive through your rendition.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Even I think your expressions were too brilliant.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Anvesha.
Expressions and the context also, everything was too good.
Thank you. You are all so kind. Thank you so much. Just you made
Thank
my
you.
day. Thank you.
Now you agree with me, Dipti ma'am. I was telling you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Jyoti, let's come to you now. Let's let's start with
Okay.
your background,
Thank you,
why
Mona
you have
Lisa.
chosen the poetry, and please go
Thank
ahead.
you for the invitation and giving us this opportunity to read his. I chose the poem Red Riding Hood based on the fairy tale that shows the interaction between humans and animals. Actually, the animal showing the brute part of the human nature itself. So, I've always believed that punishment is no solution for crime, and it is like putting out fire with fire. So,
Okay.
this was the theme I wanted to bring out through this story by rewriting it. Like in the original story, the wolf is the wrongdoer and gets killed in the end. He is punished for the wrongdoing. But here I'm replacing that with compassion to transform the inner ignorance that makes the wrongdoer do the wrong things. Uh, Instead of punishing, the compassion transforms the wrongdoer. So it's not against the person, it's against the deed. So you kill the deed and not the person who does it. That is the thing I wanted to bring out. So let's start it. Uh, On her way to Grandma's with a basket of goodies, through the woods she went, wearing a bright red hoodie. On the way she stopped to smell the beautiful wild flowers. A wolf greedily spied on her, oblivious of her powers. She sensed something was wrong and found the wolf was following. Perhaps he wanted to gobble all the goodies she was carrying. Now, with her knowledge of plants, she knew what to do. Now, this Red Riding Hood is knowledgeable about the plants. She is walking through the forest, so she is not just an ignorant person walking through. So, to teach the wolf a lesson, she plucked a toxic brew. She hid behind a bush and spiked the cake with nightshade and left it to lure the wolf on the path near the glade. The wolf, in an impulse of wolfish greed, gobbled up the cake. Feeling dizzy soon, he was too late to realize his mistake. Red Riding Hood, having cleared her way, went happily singing to her grandma's place. Grandma felt so proud of her granddaughter's wit and knowledge. She praised her wise act and cooked her some porridge. They feasted and celebrated, thinking the danger was surpassed. Red Riding Hood's witty act was a lesson that would last. But this tale travelled through the forest on the wings of breeze. News of the poisoned cake rustled through the trees. The other woodland creatures, scared and quite distraught, feared Red, the little girl, with such a cunning thought. Red Riding Hood, heartbroken by misunderstanding sting, vowed to show them kindness, a different message to bring. She gathered herbs and berries with the knowledge she possessed and made healing teas and remedies to put worries to rest. The wolf, recovered by her potions, was now ashamed of his greed. He asked Red for forgiveness, which she readily gave indeed. Soon the forest was abuzz with new whispers of delight. Red Riding Hood, the healer, was now the woodland's hope and light. The lesson learned wasn't just for the wolf that day, but for all the creatures on the woodland's leafy way. Her healing and forgiveness forged a bond with trust renewed. Red Riding Hood, the woodland's friend, was hailed for years. It's true. Thank you.
I loved your rhyming and the
Yes.
stanzas and the rhyming. It went so well with your poetry, and of course, you have given the context also. And loved your take. Is it also
Thank you.
part of the Grimm Brothers tale? I think I've forgotten. The Red Riding Hood?
Yeah, yeah, it's part of that.
It is, right. Okay. So that was lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti. And let's come to Anvesha now. Anvesha, I would like to know that
Yes,
why you
ma'am.
have chosen your poem and what was the
Yes.
inspiration.
My poem, renamed The Golden Eggs, is an adaptation of the classic fairy tale Jack and the Beanstalk, which has stood the test of time and remains a favorite with children and adults alike. Although there are many versions, Joseph Jacobs' version, published in 1890 in the book English Fairy Tales, remains popular. In the original story, Jack, the protagonist, has an encounter with a giant whose hen lays golden eggs and is stolen by Jack in the end when the giant is killed, as we all know. So, however, the twist I gave to my poem was an attempt to emphasize that real magic did not lie in the magic beans, which Jack had traded for his cow. Magic was indeed in the courage shown by him when he gives up his lazy ways to work hard for a better future for himself and his mother. My poem seeks to prove that hard work has no substitute. Should I continue with my poem now, ma'am?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So the poem is titled The Golden Eggs. The Golden Eggs. Long, long ago, in a quaint little town, there lived a boy named Jack at whom people would often frown, for he was a lazy bone, shy and not so brave. To get rich quick, he would often crave. One fine day, he set out to sell his cow. With his poor mom, he soon started a row. For in lieu of the cow, he had got magic beans. Furious, mom would teach him a lesson by all means. She planted the beans in the kitchen garden. Jack begged his mom that she would pardon. Amazed he was as he looked out next morn, for out of the magic beans a beanstalk was born. Soon his garden was full of the juiciest beans. Jack sold them, returning with coins in his jeans. Soon his earning he began to multiply. He achieved the impossible by beginning to try. Work is worship became his motto in life. He bought a golden goose to end his strife. The goose laid eggs equivalent to gold. His mom beamed with pride as his happiness grew manifold. Fortune favors the brave, goes the old saying. Jack proved it right by all his doing. With all his income, he built an animal farm. He generously shared with others and did no one any harm. So that's the end.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you have also written it through your rhyming kind of scheme, and also, the take is wonderful. Everybody has
Thank
given
you,
a
ma'am.
sweet, noble kind of ending. Yeah. So, Lolita, let's come to you. What's your context and why did you choose your poem? I think she's muted.
I think she's muted.
Huh.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah. Audible
Can you
now.
hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have written on the story Rapunzel. Firstly, this happens to be one of my favorite fairy tales. It was written by Grimm brothers again, and there's been a lot of adaptations to it. The reason behind Rapunzel is her long, silky hair, which she uses as a ladder or a rope to get down from the tower. And uh, the main reason is I've used this hair as a weapon. And the original story, the prince comes to rescue her, and then she gets rescued, and then the prince becomes blind, and then their love is tested, and eventually she is like happily married with the prince. But here I tried to give Rapunzel a different twist, where I felt that you don't need a prince in the a knight in the shining armor or a prince to rescue you. If you are confident of your own self, and if you have the zeal to stand up and fight for your own rights, then you can do it irrespective of however alone you are. And this context I actually took from a Tagore song, like যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে, means like if nobody comes for your help, then you have to walk alone. So that was the idea I put in for this Rapunzel, where I gave her a very independent, tried to make her very independent and not dependent on a male counterpart for her rescue. So
More,
my
it's
poem
a
goes like
more
this.
modern.
Locked from the world, there lived a pretty princess with eyes bright as sapphire and long golden tresses. Her parents died when she was just a child. Under the shelter of a cruel witch, she had to hide. Rapunzel was her name. Her fiery spirit was hard to tame. Lived in a tower that kissed the clouds high. The witch was her only visitor as years rolled by. With no stairs to climb up the tower, the witch would sing a rhyme that was loud and clear. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I may climb thy golden stair. One fine morning, a prince came riding, young and free, across kingdoms, land, and sea. Hearing an enchanting voice, a melody so sweet, he looked up to see Rapunzel singing by the window seat. Their eyes met, and sparks flew. He decided to set her free. Rapunzel, let your hair down on his plea. He climbed the tower, a heroic role. Saving a damsel in distress was his only goal. The witch came to know of Rapunzel's affair. She devised a vengeful plan, catching them unaware. Filled with malice, she tried to sever Rapunzel's golden pride. Like a tigress, princess fought fierce and wild. She snatched the scissors from the witch, chopped off her golden mane without any hitch, dropping her hairy rope from a window, a braid long and neat. She escaped from the tower, an impossible feat. She told the prince, your love is not true. I do not get any respect from you. I shall not be your bride or your winning trophy. I'll seek a love that's kind and worthy. She sang aloud, embracing her freedom under the blue sky. Dream big, dream high, it's not good to be too shy. Know your heart, know your mind, do not lose focus and sight. Craft your story and have the courage to fight. Rapunzel's grit is a legend's grace, tale of hope and courage to defy fate. Trials and tears her spirit had known. She conquered fear to embrace the unknown. Thank you.
This was more of your modern take of the present day scenario, as women have, uh, become more independent and they don't want to take anything, any shit from anybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't need a prince to rescue them. Very true.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I think
wonderful.
all the fairy tales, they have this prince and the romantic angle, so they kind of I think that is also a sense of I wouldn't say a very subtle way of promoting patriarchy, where you feel that okay,
Yes.
you need a man to, because but I feel a man and a woman are complementary to each other and not, the rescuer and the rescued types. They should be, at par.
Very true. Very true. I fully second you.
Yeah.
It's so strange that all I think all of us have brought across such strong lessons. You see, Jyoti, she says, kill the deed, not the criminal, be compassionate.
Yeah.
But there's so much of talk about all that. Should there be the death penalty, or should we, reform the criminal? So I think that was such a relevant point that she brought through. And
Yeah.
Anvesha also, she said, no substitute for hard work. Be courageous.
Exactly.
Again, there
I
is
think
time.
Mona Lisa, yeah, I think Mona Lisa, you should, do a publication on modern, and I think because these were all Western poems, wherein, I somehow feel they tend to show women in a very, even in a very softer tone.
Yes,
Like
yes.
even if you take Gone with the Wind or any of Jane Eyre, so it's like, the women are, waiting to get married, and like the damsel in distress. Whereas if
Yeah.
you look at the Indian authors, be it, any of the Bengali Sarachandra or any of the modern authors, they portray women in a more stronger light, maybe because of the cultural or the, the Shakti or the divine feminine that we always feel the women are. So I think Mona Lisa, you should do a theme where, we are promoting, this fairy tale in a different kind. Maybe the Indian version will have a more will be more stronger as compared to the original ones.
For that, I think you should read the book When Goddesses Walk the Earth. Just read it. We have done that.
Yeah,
The
I
thing you are
have.
saying here, we have celebrated the goddesses, and we have also shown how, how they have shown courage, how they have given an eye to the patriarchy, things like that,
Yes.
and in their human form. So that is one book I would suggest. And yes, we can do, surely we can do on such topics like Shakti, as showing women as Shakti, but in a modern context. We can do that.
No, and one more, if I can suggest, if we can, cater to the children, like the impressionable age, like where they read the fairy tale. So even, that will also help the parents or the child to understand that okay, because you don't need a Snow White can be in a state of coma, yet she can, like you don't need a prince or a helper. You have to. It's a self-help thing these days.
Adding on to what Lalita is saying, we in our school we do this. We tell them stories, or we tell them to read, and then we say, please try and have an alternate ending. See what you can
Agree.
do with the story. Change it. So a lot of times you find that, especially the girls, they come out with, they are always the, they're not the Helen of Troy anymore. They are always the Joan of Arc. They want to be up there. So I think it starts at that age. The younger you are, the more you tend to think that way, and probably when they grow up, they would actually act on it.
I think
Gone
that's
are
very
the
good.
days.
giving them a chance to think for themselves rather than feeding them with ideas what we have conceived. We should promote self thinking. Thinking for yourself
Yeah.
is the
Yes,
best thing we can give to
Exactly.
anybody.
absolutely.
That's
Yes.
really nice you are doing that.
Thank you. It is very important. It's very important
Yeah,
for children to develop a backbone. Not only
yeah,
girls and boys both. I think that
And
is
I
very
think they should know both the shades, the
yeah.
good one, the bad one,
Yes.
Yeah.
being submissive where they have to submit, become submissive, and where they have to raise their voice. The
Yeah,
balance should be there, so
yeah,
that we are
And
absolutely.
always not roaming
yeah.
around with our
And I
10
think
hands and like Shakti. We need to be
hmm,
the
yeah.
calmer version as well, because women are
Yes.
the nurturer and families are
And
going because of women only. So we don't want to give any
exactly.
wrong or
yeah,
aggressive
absolutely.
message.
Yes, yes,
No,
yes.
no,
I
no
agree
wrong thoughts.
completely.
But I think with this approach, we can break the stereotyping to a great extent, because
Yeah.
otherwise you have this the male as a protector, because women will always be the nurturer and the provider and all that stuff will remain. But the
Hmm.
stereotyping that machoism, the definition of machoism will probably be more
I
subtle and more
think that
softer.
that was not totally negative. What was originally there was
Yeah,
like it was like distribution of labor. I could say like
true.
you you have to be like on your to be chivalrous and a courteous man to win over a woman, right?
Hmm,
So those
hmm.
are good qualities they were trying to promote at that time, what they thought the original writers actually thought. So it
And the
wasn't
hunter,
totally
no?
negative.
Yes,
Yeah.
the hunter and the nurturer. Those two roles, automatically fell into place, basically.
Exactly.
No, that's what
And
I
we
said
should.
Yeah,
earlier.
but
It was more
I
complementary,
think
the male and
So
the
men and women are complementary. That idea also
complementary.
has to
But
be, to
now
a
it has
certain
become more
extent, it has to be
competitive.
told to children. Yes.
yeah.
And that also
So
has to be
children have to reflect
it's
on
like
that idea also.
yes, and it has to have that balance. You
But
cannot
Yes.
be
when
you
men
cannot be
find
Durga
that,
all the time. No, you cannot be
yeah,
flaming mad all the time.
yeah,
You
but
have to also
if
come
they
down
find that they are too aggressive, the women are too aggressive, then like
It will
the
not
men are
work.
put
The
off
world
by
won't
that
work
and
that way.
they no
Yeah.
longer want to be like, oh,
And if
be in
honestly,
the role.
if I
But
have to
nature has its own thing to promote through hormones as well. It makes
exactly.
them naturally like that, and uh, whatever comes naturally to us we can't ignore actually.
I know. Yes,
That's true. Very correct.
I agree with you, Jyoti, because I think we need both. It cannot
Yeah,
be a woman run world or a man run world only.
yes,
We need both.
yeah,
Yeah, there has to be a balance. I mean, you should know when to put your foot down, and you should also know, the woman should know when to be gentle. I mean,
when
what
to be
I feel
accept.
is like, uh, yeah,
I
I
mean
feel the
it's not
women at
only for the
times,
women, it's both,
and
it's
for
for
the men
both.
as well. Yeah, for
Yeah,
both.
they also need to
Yeah,
know when to be gentle and when to be
gentle and
strong,
when to be
right?
Yes,
strong.
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I personally feel there is no harm in boys learning cooking. Why
yeah,
not?
Exactly.
Now some
exactly.
of the best chefs in the world are supposed to be men. But when you look at the average family, earlier it used to be, oh no, that's a woman's job. Why should we? But today you see the men getting happily getting into the kitchen, and there's nothing macho about them.
Yeah,
They're doing it because they are also they care equally for their spouses and their
Exactly.
children and the families. So I think that is a wonderful thing. You
yeah.
know,
These kind of stereotypes need to break. Otherwise,
These
it's a
and
time,
good.
yeah,
and
exactly.
I feel that if this comes from within it is more good.
yes,
It is better, like rather than being told okay you do this, it's like,
Yes.
oh, why ask for it?
I know, I know.
and I and somehow I feel, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, or I don't know whether it's, I feel as a woman it is like, since a mother is the first teacher, so the woman has to be strong enough to,
Yeah.
even if somebody in the family says no, ye to ladkiyon ka kaam hai types,
Hmm.
why are you a
Hmm.
boy doing it? So the woman should be in a position to, defend and, say, put her point across. Because normally what happens when, the everybody, the elders and everybody pressurize the lady, she kind of gets on the back foot. So
Hmm.
if the woman is convinced and is confident and sure, like in Rapunzel, she was sure that okay, she'll find a love which is worthy for her, and not, fall in love for somebody who just treats her like a, a showpiece type. So I think a woman should know her mind. She shouldn't be so gullible as to, fall in a trap of a wrong relationship or whatever.
Hmm.
And that can only come when she's emotionally more sound and more in control of herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I want to ask you one thing. Have you any of you have read Christina Rossetti's Goblin Market?
Sorry.
Christina Rossetti's Goblin Market. Has anyone
No,
read
no,
the
no,
poem?
No.
no.
Okay, so I would request you all do your homework, read the poem because I am coming up with something.
Okay. Oh wow.
Okay.
Okay. Goblin Market.
Goblin Market by Christina Rossetti.
Okay,
Okay.
because I've read her other poems, the more tender ones. This doesn't sound tender in the least.
No, no, no. This is not a tender one. This is quite uncanny, but it has a amazing ending and a beautiful story. That how a sister tries to save her younger sister because she gets lured by the goblin men. But the rhyming, the metaphors, everything, you will just fall in love. I'm a big fan of Christina Rossetti,
I know.
so I just gave you a small hint here that something is coming,
Hmm.
so you can all write for that
Something is
because
brewing.
yeah, something is brewing. So
Nice.
lovely listening to all of your poems and different takes to the fairy tales we all have heard, we all have read. Because most of the fairy tales that we have seen are really like, magical creatures, magic, curses. But your poetry was different from that. It was more like, the real world around us and how people
Yes.
are actually in it. So wonderful. And thank you for joining today. I really enjoyed listening to you, and I hope all the audience would later on watch and they will also enjoy. So please share this video. I will drop the link. You can also share it on your wall.
We'll do that. Thank you so much, Mona Lisa.
Thank
No,
you.
ma'am.
Lovely being here.
Thank you.
Lovely
Thank
being
you.
listening to all
Thank you,
all the
ma'am. Thank
poems.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye. Have a
much.
great evening.
Bye.
Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye
We'll meet
bye.
Bye.
again.
Bye.
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 Good night.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.